this year. Last year we had a total of 920 responses within the fire department. That's for everything, all types of service. This year to date, we have 765 responses. That same period last year was significantly less than that. It was 725 rather than 765, 40. That's significant to the department. False alarms, a real problem. Last year we had a total of 252 false alarms, averaging 21 a month for the entire year. To date this year, we're at 234 already, and we're averaging 26 a month. That's bad use of resources. It affects our volunteers, it affects our equipment, it's wear and tear, it takes our volunteers away from their families and sometimes their jobs unnecessarily. Most of these can be corrected, and I'll address that a little bit later. Good news. Total fire calls are down this year. Last year, we had a total, year to date, we had a total of 146 fire calls at this time. We're down to 120 this year so far. Building fires are down by a count of 2 at this time of the year. A little bit more on the bad side. Cooking fires, or as we refer to them, culinary accidents. And I've preached upon this my 20-some years in the fire service. I wish we could teach people to cook. Last year, we had a grand total of 46 cooking incidents. That's fires that were kept on the stove, burnt pots, that sort of thing. Didn't get away into the cabinets, didn't become a building fire. 48 for the year. To date, we are 49 for this year. I guess we still haven't learned to cook. We're averaging somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 or 9 a month, roughly. Now that being said, with the false alarms, there are cooking incidents that are listed as false alarms because they're not actually a fire. It gets smoky, it trips a fire alarm, or trips a smoke detector, the fire department gets called. We get it before it gets to the fire stage. That's a significant number of the false alarms. Unfortunately, that's not broken out at exactly what that percentage is. The other big factor with false alarms is people that do not maintain their smoke detectors properly. Vacant buildings have smoke detectors in them, they get damp, we get called. People that don't understand how they work, the low battery indicator goes off, they call the fire department, their smoke detector is sounding, and it isn't. Maintain their smoke detectors. We're also looking at the way things are going this year with if we continue the trend that we're on right now for fire calls, overall fire responses, we will probably, for the first time in the history of the Pottstown Fire Department, exceed 1,000 calls. Because they're averaging 85 calls roughly a month. And we've got 3 months to go. Simple math. And there doesn't seem to be a downtrend in that. All of that being said, major fires are down, and I'm going to knock on wood on that. The fires that we had have been relatively insignificant. How do we correct some of the false alarms? Maintain the smoke detectors. Keep the batteries up to date. It's Fire Prevention Week. They preach, check your batteries. All of the newer smoke detectors on the market today have integral batteries you can't take out. They're 10-year batteries because people were taking the 9-volt batteries out and putting them in Johnny and Mary's toys. You can't do that with the new detectors. But you have to have them. The vast majority of fire fatalities are in residences. Well over 80%. And most of those are at night when people are sleeping. So you need to have smoke detectors in your residences. And you need to close your bedroom doors at night. It makes a big difference. It keeps smoke out of your bedroom, gives you a chance to escape when that smoke detector goes off. Anyone that doesn't have smoke detectors, they can contact Goodwill Fire Company. They have a supply of smoke detectors from Kidda. It's part of the big giveaway program you probably saw in the news here several months ago out of Philadelphia, the fire department. You contact them. They have a criteria of how many they will pass out and who they'll pass them out to. They are available. If you don't have smoke detectors, it's a killer. And again, the fatal residence fires, the vast majority of them either did not have smoke detectors at all or they weren't operating. I can tell you how that strikes home. I went to visit my own son back in the summer, lives up near Lancaster, and I walked into his house, and I just happened to look up. It's the fireman in me. There's a smoke detector with the battery door open, and no battery in it. You can imagine what I did. His excuse was, it's a hardwired battery, a hardwired system. I said, yeah, what happens when your electric is off? Oh. He went to the store and got a battery. And last but not least, please do not leave the stoves unattended when you're cooking. That's the biggest reason why we have the cooking fires. I'm only going to be away for a minute. I've almost gotten caught myself because I'm going to the phone. Time flies when you're having fun. Do not leave cooking unattended. So if we can cook better and we can maintain our smoke detectors, we can significantly lower the responses on the fire department, which, again, it's easier on the volunteers. It saves wear and tear in equipment. The wear and tear in equipment equates to finances, and we know where we're at with finances. Fuel, everything else. Councilors have any questions? I'd gladly answer any now.
I have a question. Burning wood in your backyard. Wood?
As the ordinance now reads, if you're having what they call a recreational fire, in other words, a little fire pit where you're doing like a kumbaya thing around the fire,
Yes, like a
s'mores, that kind of
bonfire,
thing,
like the
you can
metal
do that.
thing. No, I'm talking about how you make
Now,
it how.
if you're doing that though, there's a criteria for that in the fire code. 25 feet from a building, 25 feet from a property line. Think about that. Think about the borough to do it according to the code.
Yeah,
But you can do it. Now, what you can't do is you can't burn waste, you can't burn yard waste, you can't burn leaves, you can't burn anything like that.
I'm not sure what they burn, and I know there's sticks.
If you have, anybody has a question about open burning and they see some open burning going on, do not hesitate to call 911. They'll send one of our trucks out. They will see what it is. They've all been educated on what the ordinance is. And if it's not appropriate, they carry a letter with them that explains the ordinance. They will warn the people, give them that paper, and then there's a record that we've been there and they've been advised, so in the future they can't say, I didn't know.
Now, for the false alarms, do we find?
On the automatic alarm systems in businesses and commercial properties, yes. We have not, to date, done any finding as far as residential properties, 1 and 2 family dwellings with smoke detectors.
Mm-hmm.
And primarily that's because that would be even more of a deterrent not to have a smoke detector or not have a battery in it. Where the fixed alarm systems by code are required to be serviced, maintained, and certified annually, just like smoke detectors. Is a totally different plane.
I was thinking $25 times 765.
The fee for false alarms for the commercial properties when it is implemented is $300 per incident.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, this year, because of the change in the offices, there's some records that I don't have. It's very difficult for me to bill because of not knowing where the status was with properties, because they do get a certain period of free calls before we bill.
How many? How many calls?